this is a really important forum today, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of it. You know, the cost of everything is surging, from energy to groceries. And that's even if you can find groceries on the shelves in many places. And what are we getting out of the administration from Joe Biden and our Democrat colleagues? They're more focused on federal takeovers of elections disguised as voting rights and more reckless government spending that only causes President Biden's inflation to go even higher. So it's no secret that the Biden administration's outright contempt for fossil fuels, oil, natural gas, and coal, as well as the infrastructure needed to get those vital resources to market, is hurting the American people. I mean, you got to look no further than New England. It's cold up there right now. And the residents of New England are paying the price because far left politicians in those states are blocking pipeline infrastructure. And there's not enough natural gas for heating and power generation in that region. And this is an absurdity, given that the Utica and Marcellus shale formations, much of which reside under the feet of my constituents in eastern and southeastern Ohio, are so close by. But instead, New England's far left radical leadership would rather import LNG from Russia and burn fuel oil for their electric generation, both proven to be much dirtier than American natural gas. According to the Power Grid's website on January 16th, 31% of the New England region's electricity came from natural gas, 25% from coal, 25% from fuel oil, and renewables at 8%. But what do they classify as a renewable? 58% of the renewable mix was generated by burning wood and refuse or waste. I mean, you can't help but laugh at this. They're burning wood and trash and calling it renewable energy. So New England would rather burn wood and trash, both of which have much higher carbon emissions than clean natural gas in order to generate their electricity. So my question to our panelists, and again, thank you all for being here. As Republicans, do we need to be more assertive about our advocacy for reliable and affordable natural gas and coal baseload power? I mean, our opposition is currently burning wood and trash in progressive New England. Do we need to be more assertive, or are we missing something? Whichever of our panelists want to take a look at that.
You know, I'm not sure how you could be more assertive. I think sometimes it's a willful choice. And at some point, I think reality just has to set in. And we're seeing that reality when New England has to import natural gas from Russia instead of getting it from Pennsylvania.
The problem is, Kathleen, is I'm not sure that they get it, and I'm not sure that they care because you don't hear much outcry from the citizens of those communities, and maybe that goes into my second question: are we giving up too soon? I mean, saying that all energy is created equal and advocating for a, quote, all of the above strategy, which I have done since I got here in 2011, when really we know that the only true current sources of reliable and affordable baseload energy are natural gas, coal, and outside of fossil fuels, nuclear. Those are the baseload heavy lifters. And yet, you know, we continue to say that we're an all of the above advocates for an all of the above strategy. Are we giving up too soon by taking that approach? Any of our panelists want to jump on that one?
Congressman, thank you. I just very briefly, all of the above that work, that makes sense, right? All of the above that provide what we've had up until recently, which is a pretty darn reliable system, right? The system was developed over dozens, if not, nearly 100 years. And we've had now with this transition, which I argue again is sort of forced on us as opposed to, happening through market forces, we're seeing reliability problems. And the irony of it, as you mentioned, is we don't need to burn oil to produce electricity, right? Look at what's happening in Europe right now. These folks, if you don't think they care now, they're sure going to care pretty soon. And a lot of these policies have been implemented in Europe well before we started implementing some of these policies. And I only hope it's really expensive. I hope that it doesn't lead in the loss of a lot of lives. And that's something that could happen in the very near future if these policies continue without us doing things, as Katie mentioned. Take a look at the Jones Act, permit these pipelines, get this infrastructure going, keep what we have that works, bolt on where it makes sense.
I've talked to, and Chairman Newhouse remembers, we had Secretary Granholm over at talking to our caucus not too long ago, and I pinned her down. She said, "Hey, our policy is to protect what we have and diversify." But when I went on to point out to her that they're not doing a very damn good job of protecting what we have, when they're shutting down and pausing domestic energy production on federal lands, when they're shutting down pipelines and restricting the ability to get the product to market, begging the Russians and OPEC to increase production so that we can decrease the cost of gasoline at the pump here. I pointed out to her that they're doing everything they can to do right the opposite of protecting what we have. Maybe we need to come up with a way of distinguishing between the left's only the above to a true all of the above.